Welcome to the Athlogic podcast. This is Chris Orlando, the co-founder and director of marketing with Athlogic. So we're a free sports analytics app that tracks high school football stats. We get crazy granular with our data, give you some amazing insights. Not only will we help the team perform better, the platform will help the student athlete get better exposure to college recruiters. And then we try to be more inclusive as well and stretch our reach beyond the field. And we create sports analytics clubs at the high school as well. So this podcast is designed to be a resource for you. So we're going to go out over time. We're going to talk to some coaches, kind of get some insights as to how they see the X's and O's. We'll get a chance to talk to some players, both at the high school level and the college level as well. And then on occasion, we'll have an opportunity to speak to some guys that have been through the system and had that opportunity to play the game at the highest level. And with that said, so tonight my guest is TJ Glover. And TJ is from Midland, Texas, played back in the 90s under the Friday Night Lights and got to see some interesting things. Had a chance to take his talents to the next level at Angelo State, where he played football as well as ran track, and then had the opportunity to play professional, both in the indoor world and a cup of coffee in the NFL world. So TJ, welcome, my man. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So if you can kind of start us off, just give a little bit of the background. I know I kind of touched on some of the highlights, but let us get a little idea as to who TJ is and how you're changing the world, my friend.
Oh man. Yeah, born and raised in Midland. Only son, only grandson. Two sisters, but very, very supportive family, big family on both sides, mom and dad's side. But yeah, man, grew up playing all the sports, played football, basketball, ran track in high school, had the opportunity, I guess the privilege of earning all state in football after, we won a couple state championships and a national championship in football, becoming a high school All-American in track, and then going on to Angelo State, where I was All-American in track and suffered a pretty gruesome shoulder surgery in college. And after that, it was went through a kind of depressive state and ended up leaving school and going from there, figuring out a way to bounce back. Got back through arena football, indoor football, and then just had an opportunity to at least be brought in by an NFL team and having that opportunity that, only 1% of Americans get. Thankful for that opportunity, and went back to arena football after that for a couple years. Ended up meeting my current wife now, and so now we are living here in the DFW and moving forward.
Nice. Congrats, my man. So it's always interesting kind of hearing people's journeys and talk a little bit about it. And I know when we talked offline, you said kind of when you got injured, it was tough seeing your boys going out to practice. You couldn't play and whatnot, which that makes it tough as a competitor to kind of be in that. So it's tough with the mental headspace. So I know you do a lot of work in that space now. So kind of tell me a little bit about what was your mindset when you got injured? What was the thought process of going home, the support staff, and all that?
Man, so first of all, never really having an injury that kept me out, not even a week or so. That kind of killed me. It just kind of went through a depressing stage. Ended up leaving school. Like you said, it just kind of hurt to see everyone else going to practice and I couldn't. So luckily, man, just my support staff, my family. Like I said, back then, maybe I didn't think moving home would be the right choice, but man, it turned out to be the best choice. Having my family around me, supporting me, pushing me, motivating, and not letting me quit. And so I think that was, I had a lot of people praying for me and a lot of people motivating me. So of course, I think that's number one thing in all mental aspects is having the right group around you.
100%. It's they say it takes a village, but hopefully it's the right village that you have around you that helps you get there, which is important. Absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about kind of your recruiting process going from high school to college. Were you wanting to play more football, or like I said, you were a stud in track? So was that one of the components that there had to be the track component, or tell me a little bit about that process?
Man, the crazy thing is, if I could have it all over to do now, knowing what I know, I would have taken a track scholarship to a big D1, which I had. I mean, I had interest from half the colleges across the country to run track. Football, I played. First of all, I played receiver at Midland Lee, where we had the best offensive line in the state, and Cedric Benson is our running back. So, it wasn't a whole lot of passing going on. Uh, my senior year, I moved to safety where I did get first team all state safety. But, big old huge state of Texas, being out in West Texas, that 1 year at safety wasn't enough to really get me seen by a lot of the big schools, not enough time. So had some offers from the smaller schools. I knew Angelo State had a great reputation. And my older sister, just 2 years before it, signed there to run track on a scholarship.
Okay.
So it was like, okay, well, let me go. They're going to let me do football and track. School is free. I get to do both. It is what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and be an hour and a half away from home just in case I need to get home. And yeah, yeah. So if I had to do it all over again, I definitely take track. But yeah, man, I was getting letters from, I mean, anywhere from at that time, of course, 98, 99, you had Arkansas was on top of the world in
Yeah.
tracks. I'm getting letters from Arkansas like every week. I'm getting letters from Yale and, Ivy League schools. And it was just like, it was a little bit overwhelming, especially with my mom. Like, I'm her only son. My sister was great at track. She had a few offers, and a few people talked to her, but it just wasn't that crazy as Texas football frenzy.
Right.
And so it was a little bit overwhelming. I'm getting home from practice. There's coaches sitting in the house talking to my mom. She's like, she doesn't know what to do. It's like, whatever, And so, it got a little bit crazy. And I had a school. I did have a big D1 that said, we want you. There's a couple guys at the same position we're recruiting that we have just a step ahead of you. But if one of them don't sign on National Signing Day, we want to sign you the next day, guaranteed. And I'm a 17, 18-year-old kid. Like, no, I want to sign on National Signing Day with all my friends.
Absolutely.
So I did, and I know I said if I had all over to do again, I would, but definitely don't regret anything, and where it kind of led me to at this point.
Absolutely. Everything happens for a reason, right? We
Right.
all go down different paths, but we all always get where we're supposed to be. Um,
Right.
so you touched a little bit. So you were in the Odessa Perryman, so the Friday Night Lights era, right? So you played during that heyday.
So the book was written about like the 88, 89.
Okay.
So we were the 98, 99,
Okay.
10, 10 years later, which don't let anybody know. I'm trying to put together a book about that 10 years later. Because that was mainly about Permian in their heyday. Well, 10 years later, Midland Lee went on their run.
Okay.
Uh, I lived it. This wasn't the author moving out to Odessa, following the team around, writing it. Like, I lived this for 3 years, every bit of it, and so that's something that I'm excited about in the future, is kind of putting that together.
Absolutely, that's fantastic, and it's funny when we started this app. Obviously, if you're going to do a high school football app, you have to be in Florida, you have to be in Texas, you have to be in California. So my partner Jackie's has ties to Florida. I spent a decade out in sunny Southern California, so I've got some ties to LA and whatnot. But we didn't really have any ties into Texas. So we had to go out. We've been spending a lot of time going to the different coaches clinics and the AD conference and whatnot. So we spent a lot of time in Texas, and you boys definitely do it a little different down there. That's for sure.
We definitely do, man. And it's one thing that I really like about Athlogic, and the reason why I know I was like, man, I kind of want to be a part of this thing. Is just like I was saying, especially, I mean, I wish this was around 20 some years ago, because yeah, a guy like Cedric Benson, you play in state championship games, you get a lot of college coaches that'll be at those games. Well, Cedric, I don't know if you know, but Cedric scored 5 touchdowns his sophomore, junior, and senior year in the state championship game. So 15 touchdowns in those 3 games.
Ooh.
So pretty easy to not, pretty hard to not be seen.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the guys, it was a little bit harder. You have to make plays all year trying to sit. But with once I kind of heard about Athlogic and what it does and the abilities to help these high school kids get their film out to multiple coaches, that's not breaking them and their parents' wallets and taking food off the table to help my kid get to the next level type of thing. It's like, man, if this was, man, I could have been sending my film out, for my senior year, and at least it would have popped up on someone's radar.
Right.
And so it's like when I heard about it, I mean, as soon as I heard about it, I jumped on the website. I was like, let me see what this is about. Like, there's I get it, but no, there's no way. Let me check some of this stuff out. And got to kind of reading about that, and then talking to you, and I mean, just mind blown. I've probably already talked to about 10 people since I talked to you 2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Just about, and everyone is in agreement. I say analytics is everything. And they say, yeah, you want to know how the body is performing. You want to know how kids are progressing. And, not just those capabilities, but also, like I said, the recruiting and everything else is like, man, this is where it's at. It's 25 years too late. Not late, not 25 years too late, but it's 25 years later than I needed it. But I mean, it's so awesome to see this going on.
I appreciate that, my man. Many thanks. As like I said, I'm a little bit older than you, so I played in the early '90s. But I had D3 talent as well. So, but it's you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? The exciting thing about at least what I see where we're at and where we're trying to go is I'm having countless number of conversations with guys from cross country. Did one last week where I was talking to a kid from that played high school in North Carolina, but
Mm-hmm.
he had a small, maybe 200 kids in his whole school, small little town in Carolina. He was a stud athlete, but again, he didn't have the Cedric Bensons on his team that was getting everyone and their mother looking at him
Mm-hmm.
to get that exposure. So finding the ability of getting that exposure is definitely key. You had touched base on it a little bit, I think, when we were talking before about just you're looking to get that opportunity. So talk to me on twofold. Number one, kind of how do you keep the right mentality and the right mindset of pushing towards your goal, not getting discouraged? And then talk a little bit about how you got the opportunity while you're playing in the indoor league too. As I'm breaking stuff, get a cup of coffee at the NFL level.
Man, I think it's just for me, man, my family. I mean, they were all great athletes before me. Um, you know, I just before me, I had 3 All-State cousins and an All-American in football, all defensive guys. So I couldn't wait to get to the defensive side of the ball. Um, but I wanted to be better than they were. Everyone knew me as their little cousin.
Yep.
Yeah, eventually I ended up getting my own name and being my own person, but I wanted to be better than they were.
Yep.
And then a lot of them, they played, one played at D2s, others played at D1s. Some of them got workouts with NFL teams after, one of them went to an NFL camp and got released. And it was like, well, I've got to get past that,
Yep.
you know, and I think that's where, I consider that a blessing having these guys in my family, because the little brothers strive to be better than their older brothers. And then I came along and I was trying to be better than they were. And then their kids behind me that are probably 10 years behind me, well, they go to the same high school and they see their dad, their uncle, and my pictures still hanging up on the walls throughout the locker room. And it's like, well, I'm gonna be there too. And man, it was just one of those things that that kept pushing me to be there. Is I wanted to be if I couldn't be the best one in the world, I was going to at least be the best one in my family. Um, and we've always been competitive in everything. So that was that. I mean, I wanted to be the best uh, in my family, because your older cousins pick on you when you're younger and you push you around and stuff, and I just want to say, hey, look where I made
Exactly.
it.
You've now risen, man. So, and again, that's the beautiful thing about having like the family and the people around you to kind of push you. I mean, I remember my brother is 4 years older than me, so I would always he'd have his friends over. They're playing either basketball in the yard or football in the yard or baseball or doing something, and I'd always want to tag along with them. And like you said, man, they beat the hell out of you and beat you up while you're playing. But then once you get around kids your own age, you already have all that experience from getting beat up from
Mm-hmm.
the older guys. Now you're at an advantage.
Yeah.
So always a good thing, man. So talk to me a little bit about how you got your shot in the NFL from the indoor world.
And that was we had a running, he was a college All-American, was a rookie of the year in the NFL, got in some trouble, and was back and trying to get another shot at the NFL. So teams would come out and see as he's getting in shape how he's carrying the ball. I mean, arena is only, it's 98% passing.
Yeah.
So they didn't carry the ball much. They just wanted to see how he was carrying the ball, look at his size, if he still had speed, different things like that, because he hadn't played in a little while. And just so happened, man, I was having a great camp at receiver and got seen. And I mean, it was probably the best camp that I had the 2 days that they were there. I mean, I guess the whole 2 weeks I really had a great camp. But after those 2 days that they were there, um, it was some heat. It was some heat being going around, man. I felt and I was coming back from my second shoulder surgery. Like I said, I had the first one in college after my rookie year of arena football. I had the second one. And kind of, for me, it was like I felt like I had gotten back into the best shape of my life because I recovered from this one, so I knew I could recover from this one.
Mhm.
Um, so I got into the best shape of my life, and went out there and I was faster than I'd ever been. Wasn't the biggest I'd ever been, but carried my weight and just my route running. I worked on, finding quarterbacks just to throw me the ball, which I always worked hard, but I was never that guy that I'm going to go out here and do some extra. We got practice. We got practice. Okay, I'll be at practice for sure. I'll show up a little bit early. But I wasn't that guy. At that time, I was like, I will find anybody that would throw me the ball. Good pass, bad pass. I'm working on routes, working on seeing the ball, making hard catches. Got into the best shape of my life. And, it paid off for me. I'd say, I got the opportunity. I got eyes on me, and had the opportunity to be inside of the NFL locker room for a couple of days and work out. And, like I said, man, it didn't work out. And man, best thing about it is, man, like, I guess it was just my mindset, my way of thinking. I don't know why, even at that 24 years old, how I could still be like, man, I got there and I didn't make it. Um, for me, and even today, it's still like, I got there,
Yeah.
man, and went back to arena ball and still had fun, you know. It was just a great experience, that I could always tell my kids about. I could tell anybody about. Um, it's one thing I see a lot of. I'm sure you see it too in the news with little league sports and everything. And I think, I thank God that, I see a lot of parents kind of living through their kids. Like, well,
Mhm.
I didn't make it, so I'm going to push my kid to get
Right.
there, where I feel like, man, I made it. Like, I don't need anything from my kid. I want my kid to play whatever they want to play, have as much fun as they want. I mean, people ask me about football now because my son, first of all, my wife is 6 foot, and they're saying my daughter will be about 6 foot, my son would be about 6'5", 6'6",
Oh,
and
okay.
we're in a small Texas town. They're like, well, what about football? I hope he never picks up a football.
Really?
He loves baseball right now.
Okay.
and I'd rather him stay there. But if he does, I will support him every way that in every way possible. It's not my dream for him to do that. I
Right.
don't need to do that for me. Um, but as you can see, as he sees helmets and jerseys and rings hanging up, it may be something like. And then you're in Texas in a small town, it may be something that he wants to do. But I'd rather keep the baseball and the bat in his hand and let him go that route. But like I said, yeah, man, I just want him to have fun.
How old is your son?
He will be 4 on Tuesday this weekend.
He's going to be 4. So if we go back a little bit in an earlier part of our conversation, you talked about how you had older cousins that were beating you up and that kind of pushed you. And you said, I'm going to be better than they are. And then the young bucks coming behind you said, okay, I see where the cousins are. And now where TJ is, I want to be better than him. So that trickle down effect to little man who's 4. So by the time he's old, he's going to want to run the whole family.
He might, man. I just tell him, I say, man, you just be better than your dad in baseball. And people laugh. I tell them the story all the time. Say, man, I was about 12 years old, and I got hit by a pitch, and I quit right then, middle of the game. Never played baseball again. People say, so you got hit by a pitch, and you quit to go play football?
But
Yeah,
but you knew you were getting hit in football.
yeah,
You knew what you were signing up for.
right, right. But
Uh, that's
so
funny. That's
yeah,
funny. One question I got for you, and then we'll wrap it up, my man. Uh, so played indoor, had a cup of coffee at the league, went back to indoor. That transition back, what were you able to kind of take? Did you have a different perspective on the game? Was it at a different speed when you're up at the show and you see what they're doing at that level? Again, you and I both know that if you're at that level, you're a freak of nature. And was there anything that you kind of brought with you from that little experience in the NFL back to you in the indoor world?
uh, no, man. I mean, I just took the experience. Didn't take it for granted. I mean, there's guys like myself who at one time thought we were, a really, really good talent. Where we watch NFL games, then we watch them now, and it's like, and that guy shouldn't be in the NFL. Oh, I'm better. I'm better than that guy. But it's all about where you are and the timing.
Right.
A lot of this, and some of those guys only lasted 2 or 3 years. Then it was like, okay, yeah, they're not that good. Whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was like, at least I got the opportunity. But for me, I still don't think even some of the really good guys, uh, some of the all pro receivers, and that have played in the NFL, it's hard to translate that to indoor, being half the width, half the length of the field, how fast things come out, reading defenses so fast. um it's a totally different game, and
Yeah.
when you get hit on a sideline, there's no tiptoeing out of bounds or catch one to get, like, you're gonna get hit into a wall.
Yeah. The
um
ball's not going to move.
yeah, so I mean, it didn't translate. But I could say, I guess one thing that I took with me was my confidence didn't get shook when I didn't make it. It actually gave me more confidence that I was able to get to where I did.
Sure.
So take that confidence with me, like, well, I'm better than any of these guys I'm playing against. Some say cocky, I say confidence. But
It's a
that's
thin line, my man. It's a thin line, right? So, and again, I think, and especially you said that now that you're done in your playing days, you're now more into sales. So there's always in life and business and relationships, everything that we do, we're at point A, we're trying to get to point B. Problem is, most people don't know what that point B is. But once you kind of can crystallize that vision and see where you're trying to go, and it's just a matter of working backwards to figure out what moves you have in order to make to get there. But having that confidence and having that swagger with you carries you through life. And again, that definitely comes from the days of playing ball and getting the chance to reach to the highest levels that you did, man. So my hat's off to you, brother. Congrats.
Thank you. And I mean, and then it translates perfect from sports into sales, because sports is all about relationships.
Yeah.
Sales is all about relationships. And for me, I love to talk to people. And just so happened, I got to go into a sales world where I talked to coaches all the time. And so, it was easy to build that rapport for the relationships that are, and then a lot of guys that I played with that are coaches, it was like, and then I go hang out with them and I meet their other friends that are coaches. So it was just like, oh, I mean, they say it's not work if it's something you enjoy. And it was pretty much hanging out with the guys. It was like, it felt like, locker room uh, guys, guy talk, sport talk, plays, defense, zones, Well, at Lee, at Midland Lee, what did y'all call this? You
Yep.
get a lot. It's like, well, first of all, back in '99, nobody was lining up five wide. So
We're not.
yeah, I don't even know if we had six DBs for one. Yeah,
Absolutely. And like I said, if you had Cedric running the rock, probably didn't need too many DBs on the other side because my man got what 5 touchdowns in each one of the state championships. So that's pretty impressive. But you had said football is about relationships, sales is about relationships. I'd even take it a step further, man. Life is about relationships. So again, it's if you can have an impact on someone's lives and all the good work that you're doing, man, I want you to keep that up. It's fantastic. We're excited to do some work with you and help get the Athlogic name out to all of the schools in Texas to give them that competitive edge and give those kids that exposure that they need. We're excited for it, man. So I really want to thank you for coming on. I appreciate having you, brother.
definitely, man. I appreciate you having me, man. I'm excited about helping Athlogic. I mean, get to wherever, man. From wherever I got relationships, Texas, California, North Carolina, wherever. It's something that's a must have. It's a must have.
So
It's only fair that every kid has the same opportunity.
yeah, we're a little jealous and biased, but we would agree with you, my man. So we're gonna wrap it up. I want to thank my guest, TJ Glover. Really appreciate you coming on here. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video at the bottom, and we'll go from there. I appreciate your time, my friend.
All right, thank you.
All right now.
Bye.